If you hear an eerie sound coming across Dallas, that's me screaming at night, wanting to get in a position to get a Super Bowl.
And the boos rain down. It's one of the worst playoff games the Cowboys have ever played.
Take a little bit more time to digest it. Completely stunned.
Remember this feeling. Allow that to be our motivation, our inspiration when we need it.
Pressure is privilege. My expectations are so high. And higher expectations creates higher results.
End zone caught, touchdown.
We wouldn't want it any other way.
Tell me if you heard this before. Dak Prescott still doesn't have a new long-term deal after Dak had one of the best regular seasons amongst quarterbacks, but disappointed in the playoffs when Jordan Love and the Packers ended their season early on their home turf. Jordan just got paid. Along with Dak, Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb also looking for new contracts. Here's SA with a hot take on Dakota.
This is the reaction when you talk about Micah Parsons, yeah. You talk about CeeDee Lamb, yeah, that brother, yeah. You talk about Dak Prescott. I believe he gonna be all right. He gonna be all right. That's what you do. Everybody else, yeah, let's go. Dak. Nah, man, I ain't gonna let you talk about my man Dak like that, man. He gonna be all right.
Stephen A. being Stephen A. Damien, where do you rank Dallas in the NFC?
Marley, I would say at their highest fourth. Like, this is a lesser team than last year. You know, when you look at they got to replace a couple pieces on the offensive line. Who's the running back? They don't have a number 2 wide receiver. Like, defensively, I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year. So when I look at the sum of all the parts with the Dallas Cowboys, the highest that I can put the Dallas Cowboys is fourth, and that might be giving them a favor, because I think this is a much lesser team than the teams we've seen go 12 and winning 12 games. I think 3 consecutive seasons.
Nick?
Yeah, they've won 12-5 the last 3 consecutive seasons, which is nothing to sneeze at. I think Damien's right. They are a lesser team than they've been. That doesn't mean that they can't have as much or more success, because we saw last year. I think we didn't anticipate Dak having the type of season that he ended up having. But the talent isn't gone from the Cowboys roster. They've weakened on the offensive line. I think it's the biggest concern, but they're still getting Diggs back. They still have Lawrence as an incredible pass rusher, and Micah Parsons as another incredible pass rusher. They still have the pieces to be one of the better teams in the NFC, but I do think they've taken a step back talents-wise. I would be less generous, but not by much. I think they're 5th or 6th best team in the NFC, but I do think that depending on how they respond to the answers that were presented in the playoff game to their offensive system. I think that was the biggest problem with the Cowboys, was they didn't change things. They were kind of, we do what we do and it works. And then when they got to a team that was game planning for the things that they were doing, they didn't have another answer. And whether you want to blame that on the coaches or on Dak or whoever, I'm not sure it matters. I know who Stephen A. is going to blame it on, because clearly it's going to be on Dak Prescott. But that seemed to be the issue for them offensively in the playoff game. Their defense was atrocious, and offensively, it seemed like the Packers knew exactly what they were going to do, and the Cowboys didn't have an answer for it.
So I have them 8th and out of the playoffs. I think San Francisco's better. I think Philly's better. I think Detroit is better. I think Green Bay is better. I think the Rams are better. I think Seattle's better. And I think someone from the South is obviously going to get better. And I think you could put the conversation that 2 teams from the South are going to be just as good, if not better. Okay, we have question marks at left tackle, center, right tackle, tailback, receiver outside of CeeDee Lamb, defensive tackle, inside linebacker, and Neek. You would know far better than I. And I know Trayvon's coming back, but I don't know what he's going to be like coming off of an ACL. Like, is he going to be that same guy? Is it similar to, like, it takes a full season? I have no idea about that, but I do. To expect him to just come back and be who he was is rich, I guess. So I think this team's got a lot of questions. I think it's one of the most competitive training camps that we have in the NFL, because they have so many roster spots up that they have to try to replace. I know some of their rookie draft picks, their fingers crossed. Hopefully those guys step in. But this is a football team that I have a lot of unknowns and question marks attached to more than I know them. I know Dak's going to play well. I know CD, if he's there, is going to be CD. I think Ferguson's an absolute superstar. But other than that, I don't know a lot about this football team.
I think. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you, but then a bunch of those other teams that you mentioned, they're big question marks with them too. And they haven't had the track record that the Cowboys have had of success. And some of those teams that you mentioned, the question mark is at the quarterback spot. You're talking about somebody's going to come out of the South, and you're throwing the Seahawks in there, where the Seahawks defense got worse. And we all know McDonald's defense took a year for it to settle in with the Ravens. I don't think the Seahawks are better. I think that you have to show some respect. I know the Cowboys are annoying. I know we talk about them too much, but we do have to show some respect for the fact that they've been one of the best teams in football. Even though they may collapse in the playoffs year after year, they won 12 games 3 years in a row, and they haven't changed a couple of the major, most important pieces. They still have their best player on defense, healthy and ready to go in Micah Parsons. They still have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL in Dak Prescott. I'm assuming CeeDee Lamb's going to figure it out and find his way onto the field. He's still one of the best receivers in football. I think we owe them that. You're out here talking about these teams that are unproven at important positions and assuming that they don't have question marks. They have question marks too.
Where are some of the teams that I mentioned unproven?
They have a lot of answers that these other teams don't have.
Where are some of these teams I mentioned unproven? Certainly not a quarterback. Neither of those teams that I mentioned out of the NFC South are unproven at quarterback. We know who Kirk Cousins is. Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback.
So, my bad. Trayvon Diggs coming back from an ACL is a question mark, and that's a corner. It's an important position. But Kirk Cousins?
As a quarterback who's just a pocket guy, come back from an Achilles a little bit smoother?
The Falcons, that's fine. The Falcons are an unproven entity. We have not seen the Falcons put it all together consistently in the way that we've seen the Cowboys do it consistently. So they are a new coach, a new quarterback, two new quarterbacks. Just assuming that they're going to leapfrog them, to me, is, to use your word, a little bit rich.
But that's why I said someone from the South. Then I'll take Tampa. There's not a ton of new there.
It's going to be the Panthers?
No, I said Tampa.
Bucks?
Yeah, and so I don't believe in Baker Mayfield the way that you do. I think that he had a good season last year, but he lost the reason why he had a good season. We all gave the credit to Canales. Canales is gone. You're saying as if I agree, the Cowboys have question marks. I wouldn't bet any of my hard-earned money on them, but you are naming a bunch of other teams that also have question marks. The one team that we're talking about in this group of teams with question marks that has proven success year after year is the Dallas Cowboys. Have they earned no benefit of the doubt? That to me is shocking. You're giving the benefit of the doubt to all these other teams who have question marks and not the Cowboys, the one team that's gone 12-5 the last 3 years in a row.
Here's what I will say about the Dallas Cowboys, and I think everyone will agree with this. The Dallas Cowboys have been one of the best teams at identifying and developing talent. I think that's the one thing that the Cowboys are banking on, is a lot of their draft picks to come in and play meaningful snaps and play some pretty good football. That's where I give the Dallas Cowboys credit. They do a good job of drafting and developing. The problem with the Dallas Cowboys, outside of their stars playing like stars in the biggest moment, Dan, like you touched upon on Get Up this morning, is they don't spend any money. You got to be able to spend money to supplement the superstars that they have drafted and developed. And that's why the Dallas Cowboys, to me, are a lesser team, because they refuse to supplement their superstars that they've drafted and developed in-house.